Amen. Have a seat. I was going to say happy Monday, but it's Wednesday already. You guys got a half a week. Isn't that good? Fall break. Everybody feeling rested, ready to go? All right. Good deal. Hey, last week was fall break, but this week, anybody know what this week is? Homecoming week. Yes, big week this week. Hey, we've been doing this the last couple years at homecoming, the chapels leading up to homecoming. We've been inviting back Hope alumni. We're calling it Alumni Say-Sos. Just hearing from alumni who have graduated from Hope and God calling them to different parts of the world, doing different things, and hearing a little about what that's about. So our first alumni homecoming speaker, let's get that out, Mike Schipper, 1985 grad. Would you give him a little lovin'? Mike is currently a county judge in Berry County. Anybody from Middleville, Caledonia, any of that area? He's your judge. All right. With that, welcome Mike one more time to chapel today. Thanks, brother.
Amazing to be here. Amazing. Do not take this for granted. Amazing. When I went to school here, and I wish you wouldn't have told the year because that makes me feel so old. I probably went to chapel a handful of times in 4 years. It wasn't this. It wasn't this. This is amazing. I came here 2 years ago to speak to a pre-law class in the basement of the building and was invited to come to chapel. And I came and I thought, well, I said to the kids, who's speaking? Is this Billy Graham or somebody? I mean, they said, no, this is normal. I'm like, no, this is not normal. This is great. And I just thought I need to be a part of this. And after call after call, and after writing my Hope speech almost a year ago in the middle of the night, and my wife telling me, go to bed because you're not going to speak at Hope, I'm here. Now, what I wrote in the middle of the night is not what I'm going to talk about today, and I'm going to work to get through this. Be patient with me. I could be vanilla and tell you about my life and little journey to being a judge and all that, but God has told me to give you my all. My family will tell you, my athletes will tell you, I don't go 50%. I'm 100 miles an hour. So I'm going to tell you about my faith journey and my struggles, because a lot of times people look at a judge and they think, well, you must have it all together. And man, I have struggles. And I thought maybe if I tell you about my struggles, maybe your struggle's a little easier. Maybe you'll get through your next struggle a little easier. So I want to talk about faith, and I have 3 faith tests that I'm going to talk about. And these aren't things I talk publicly. In fact, some of this I've never spoken about before. But I trust you. The first faith test I call Isaac. When my wife and I got married, our number one goal in life was to have a family. Number one. That's all she ever wanted to do. And we, 7 years, tried, and we had miscarriages, and we didn't have pregnancies, and we did fertility surgeries, and finally we got pregnant. And my wife was 7+ months along, and her mom was going with her to visit the doctor to see the ultrasound. So you can actually see the hands and the feet of Alyssa, because that was her name. And I was in Detroit working. And my wife called me and said, Mike, she's dead. And I thought she was joking. I knew she wouldn't joke about that, but I couldn't believe it was real. So I drove home. I can't look at my wife. I flew home, and she had to carry the baby for 2 more days before she gave birth to Alyssa dead. And I was angry. Why, God? We're good people. We got in the adoption list. And on December 20th of 1992, my wife was in the delivery room when our adopted son Isaac was born, and she was handed Isaac right from the birth mom, and the doctor said, congratulations, Mom. It was the happiest day of my life, and had we not gone through that, I wouldn't have Isaac, my oldest son, love of my life. But I didn't have faith along the journey. I had anger and frustration. I didn't have faith. But when you got Isaac, I thought, oh, thank you. There's a purpose. There's a reason. We wouldn't have Isaac if it weren't for all of this. Fast forward just a few years, I'm at the U.S. Attorney's Office. I'm a federal prosecutor. And this is faith test number 2. I call it U.S. Attorney's Office. And we had a woman in our office, a wonderful Christian attorney, a wonderful person, a wonderful attorney. And she was embroiled in a really ugly sexual harassment lawsuit against our presidentially appointed U.S. attorney. And I took her side because I knew she was right. And for the next 8 or 10 years, my life was difficult, to say the least. The people they brought in from Washington to try to fix the problem really were there to get rid of people, and people like me, because I spoke up. And I stayed by her side even when they tried to get rid of me. And they did things like moving me with no notice whatsoever from the civil division in our office to the criminal division and giving me the worst possible cases. And then they took another step to try to get rid of me. They couldn't fire me because I did a good job. And all along this was difficult. I'm coming home angry and stressed, and my wife is very supportive, but telling me, leave. And I just felt like I wasn't supposed to. Then they moved me out of the office to the Kent County Prosecutor's Office, ostensibly to be a liaison, but really they wanted to get rid of me. I've never told anybody this before. And man, I wanted to quit. But something kept me there. Fast forward, a judge in Berry County retires, and I get a call. Mike, would you put your name in the hat to be a judge? And I'm like, I'm not political. I don't schmooze. I've never given money to a political party. We give money to people we think need it. I come home and coach t-ball and soccer. I'm not a political guy. This is a political appointment. When a judge dies or retires, the governor gets to pick. Governor Snyder's not going to pick me. So I go to the famous interview, and every governor has a group of 20-ish current and retired attorneys and judges. And so I went to Lansing, and there were 10 people applying for this position, and you go in this room, and it's like Star Chamber. I'm not kidding you. It's a huge table, curved table with 20 people on one side and you on the other for this interview. And I'm sitting in the hall, and the person that comes out before me is a prosecutor who had applied for the job, and he came out, he looked horrible. Seriously, I'm not kidding you, he is red, he is sweating, and I said, how was it? And he said, worst experience of my life. I'm like, okay. So I walk in there, and kid you not, it was the easiest interview I've ever had in my life. They went through and said, hey, we see that you went from civil to criminal. So you've done both those jobs. That makes you better. We see that you went from the federal to the state. So you've known both those things now. That's going to make you a better judge. Everything they did to hurt me just built my resume. I walked out of there. I'm 48 years old. I'm a Christian. But I didn't have faith. I believed, but I didn't have faith. I walked out of there. Swear to God, I walked out of there, and I told my wife, I called her, I said, there's a God. And she said, yeah, there's a God. I said, no, I'm telling you, there is absolutely a God. I don't know if I'll get this job or not. But everything that went on for the last 10 years, he had a plan. He was building my resume. He was making me better. And it's exactly, I'd never even paid attention to this verse before. The Bible's so true. Guys, reread it. There's stuff that's going to hit you that never hit you before. Genesis 50:20 says, they did things to try to harm you, but I was doing them to help you so that you could further my purpose. See, the management at the U.S. Attorney's Office was playing checkers. God was playing chess. They thought they were hurting me. They were building my resume. They got me the judgeship where God wanted me to be. So I go through this test of faith with Isaac for 7 years, and I get the greatest thing I've ever gotten. the love, first child. And then I go through this 8 or 10 year process with the U.S. Attorney's Office, hugely stressful. Thought about quitting. I don't know why. I guess now I know why I didn't. God didn't let me quit. But so I go through those things, and God's there. He's absolutely there. So you think, okay, you've gone through this twice, years of this, and God is there. Your faith is going to be strong. I'm still imperfect. My faith is still imperfect. In April, really with very little notice, my wife got rushed to the hospital and diagnosed with heart failure. Now you would think, with my life experience, I would have the ultimate faith. You know, people say, give it to God. You heard that before? Wow, that's easy to say. It's not easy to do. I want to give it to God. But it's hard. He's been there for me. He's proven himself. I can just hear him in the back of my head saying, Mike, I got this. I've had you your whole life. It's still hard. I don't tell her this often, my wife, because I'm strong. I'm positive. And I know God has it. I know that. But man, it's still scary. It's still hard. And I still get angry because she's probably the nicest person in the world. She serves like no one else. Why her? So I wanted to share this with you because I think that some of you probably have had struggles. I hope you don't have difficult struggles like I have. But if you do, I'm telling you, number one, there's a God. There's a God. Have faith. And when you struggle with that faith, it's okay. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a weak Christian. Because I don't think I'm a weak Christian. I just think I'm an imperfect human. I just think I'm imperfect. And it reminds me so much of when I was young and when my kids were young and my dad would be in the pool or I would be in the pool for my kids and I'd say, jump. Any of you ever do that? Your dad would say, jump. And you're afraid and you do that little happy foot dance and you, right? And you're afraid. You're afraid. You know he's your dad. You know he's going to catch you, but it's scary. And you jump and he catches you. My dad caught me every single time. And for my dad and for me, when my kids jumped, it's easy as the catcher. There was no problem. I have a kid jump into my arms, all I got to do is catch. That's easy. I never dropped my kids. My dad never dropped me. God's not going to drop you. He's got the easy part. He's going to catch you. You just have to dare to jump. And the happy feet, I have them still. It's okay. But I'm telling you, if you've ever wondered, and it took me a while. Listen, I'm telling you, I was 48 years old when it really hit me like a brick when I walked out of that interview. Holy cow, he's real. He's real. It can't have possibly happened the way it did without him being real. So I'd encourage you to jump. And when you're afraid and when you're struggling, when things are rough, for some of you it probably is, try relax. Try talk to him a little bit and just go hard every day. Just go hard and be great at every challenge he gives you every day, and it will work out. And it may not work out in a year. It may take a while. And it may not be fun during it sometimes. But I guarantee you, God is real. And he's there for you. And he has a plan for you. You may not know it. It may not be the plan you want or what you're thinking about. But I promise you he's there. And I'm going to work as best I can to give it to God. Even though that's hard. to give it to God. So I want to thank you guys for allowing me to be here. I want to thank you for inspiring me, because when I came 2 years ago, October 27th, almost exactly, I sat right back there where the guy with the white hat backwards, right about where he is. Yep. And you moved me. Do not forget the power you have. The power in this room is amazing. It's amazing. So thank you very much for being here. Have a great week and go Hope.